Hello friends, welcome to TechLake video tutorials. This is Ravindra. Today video I am going to give you more information about Azure Data Factory components. So previous video just we started with what is Data Factory and how we can use the Data Factory in cloud when it comes to Azure cloud for data migration, or you can say ingestion, for ETL, for orchestration. So Data Factory is having a different components for data migration for ETL as well. So those components, if you look at high level, pipelines, data sets, link services, integration runtime, and data flow. Data flow for ETL, applying transformations and other things. And integration runtime when we are using data migration, or when we are using for orchestration, or when we are migrating data within a cloud or from external system to cloud, we need a server. So Data Factory inbuilt, it is having serverless compute. So that compute we will call it as integration runtime. Okay, like every ETL tool will have a ETL server. The ETL server is integration runtime. If you are using a copy activity, similarly, if you are using ETL, data flow also will have an integration runtime. That integration runtime, the backend is Spark clusters. If you are not using a data flow, then you will have a serverless compute, which you can go and use minimum 2 nodes, maximum 256 nodes. So that is integration runtime. Maybe naming wise, it's a different naming wise. It is different, nothing but compute power. Link services is nothing but whenever we are connecting a sources, extracting data. So that source connection details, we'll call it as link services. The name itself, linked services, connection details for source, similarly for target as well. Data set, when we are migrating data, the data set may be a table or maybe a file. So when we are extracting data from a table, table is a data set. When we are loading data into table, table is a data set. If you are extracting data from file, file is data set, and creating output as a file, file also data set. So that end-to-end process we'll call it as pipelines. End-to-end process we'll call it as pipelines. So data factory we are going to use for ingestion, same data factory we can use for transformation, same data factory we can use for orchestration, nothing but scheduling and publishing and monitoring. So connect and collect the data, which we can ingest data into data lake. Same data factory we can use for ingestion. Then ETL transformation purpose also we can use the data factory. Publish and monitoring, nothing but orchestration also, like scheduling also we can use same data factory. So in this scenario, when we are migrating data from on-premises to cloud, the same components, the relationship, maybe immediately you won't get much clarity. Pipeline can have n number of activities, group of activities. Each activity will have a data set, source data set, target data set. Mean it will consume the data from data set. If it is a table, if the table is going to like we are going to read data from a table, that table will be available in any database. So that table will be available in database. How it will connect to the database? Using link service. Consider when we are extracting data from on-premises, consider Oracle. And the target is cloud. So cloud where we'll store data into data lake, ADLS. Okay. So target is ADLS. So this ETL tool connect and collect the data, apply transformations, load data into target. So this is just a data migration. Source is Oracle. So how you will connect a source? Using link services. Then once you connect to the source, then you are going to read data from data set. The data set is a table. So we are going to consume the data, that is reading data from source. Then that integration runtime is a server. It will temporarily store in the server, then load data into target. But the target you need to connect, consider target is data lake. So you need to collect target as well, that is link service. The target, we are going to create a file. File means data set. So produce data set. So copy is one of the activity. The activity need a source data set, target data set. So the source is going to connect using link service. So the data set is going to connect a source. Similarly, target also. Data set means it contains data, maybe a table or maybe a file. Link service means source and target connection details. So activity is the process when we are migrating. Migration is one activity, source to target. So this is about individual relation. Maybe first time when you are hearing, you'll have a little confusion. Let's understand integration runtimes. So recently, when it comes to Data Factory is having another integration runtime, which is Airflow. That is under preview. But existing integration runtimes, which is available, Azure self-hosted integration runtime and SSIS. If you want to integrate, Microsoft is having their own ETL tool, on-premises ETL tool called SSIS. So integration services. So that if you want to integrate with the Databricks, integrate with the Azure ADF, this integration runtime. Then if you are migrating data cloud to cloud, Azure integration runtime, on-premises or private network, self-hosted integration runtime. This is integration primarily two types, including when we talk about on-premises or private network. Okay. So third one is SSIS. We can ignore that because nowadays no one is using SSIS as it is packages in cloud. So every project you can find the redeveloping in cloud. So Azure integration runtime mainly we can use to cloud data migration. Source is Azure, target is Azure. Maybe Gen 1 to Gen 2 migration, blob storage to Gen 2 migration, or any other database to blob storage or database to database migration. If source is Azure, target is Azure, we can use Azure integration runtime. Consider your source is a private network, on-premises machine, and target is a cloud. So then if you want to migrate data, another integration runtime called self-hosted integration runtime. Self-hosted integration runtime will come into the picture only if source is on-premises or private network. If source is cloud, target also cloud, then default integration runtime is Azure integration runtime. Default integration runtime is Azure integration runtime. So this is about integration runtimes types. When we are migrating data from on-premises to cloud, definitely we can go and use a self-hosted integration runtime. If source is on-premises or private network, target is Azure. When if source is Azure, target also Azure, then Azure integration runtime. Azure integration runtime. This is a server, ETL server. Like every ETL will have a server, right? That is a serverless compute. The compute on-premises means it depends on on-premises compute power. On-premises compute power. If it is a cloud, so cloud which we can go with the 2 nodes to 256 nodes. 2 nodes to 256 nodes. That's the compute power maximum which you can realize for one integration runtime. Like that, you can create a number of Azure integration runtimes. You can create, depends on mission, on-premises mission. If you have one VM or one box, one integration runtime on on-premises. If you have 2 missions, 2 integration runtimes, 3 missions, 3 integration runtimes. So one mission, one integration runtime. So that is about integration runtime and the types. So next video, what we will do, we'll start with creating a data factory. Then we'll understand all these relations. What is pipeline? What is activity? What is data set? What is link services? How we can use, how we can migrate data, maybe cloud to cloud or maybe on-premises to cloud. So our primary focus is ingestion first. So how we can use the data factory for ingestion. So that will help you for any kind of project in cloud, maybe Snowflake, maybe Databricks, maybe Azure Synapse, but common is data factory. So that purpose I'm going to give this tutorial. So let's see you in another video. We'll understand more into creating data factory and understanding these relationships: pipeline, activity, data sets, link services. If you like this video, Please subscribe my channel. See you in another video. Thank you. Have a good day.